Now we're going to take a look at the Flyweight design pattern, which is somewhat similar to the singleton design pattern you just saw, in that you only need a single object to work with. We'll take a look at how the Flyweight pattern works now, and what the problem it's designed to solve is if you have in your code many objects that need to be created, and each object uses a substantial amount of resources and memory space and so forth. In other words, it's a heavy object. Large amount of resources are needed to support that object. So here is the situation. Your code has many heavy objects that are needed to be used and uses up a lot of memory, a lot of other resources and so forth. Heavy object 1, heavy object 2, heavy object 3. And the way the Flyweight pattern resolves this problem is to create one or a small number of Flyweight objects and allows them to be configured on the fly to look like many different objects, many different heavy objects. So the configuration allows the Flyweight object to act like many larger objects. So we're going to see how this works in code in a minute, and that's the idea though. You only have one Flyweight object, and you can configure that Flyweight object to work like many different other objects. You configure on the fly, and you don't need then to create all these heavy objects and weigh down your code and your machine with all these resources being used and wasted. So that's the Flyweight design pattern. The idea is that you can just have one or a small number of Flyweight objects, and when you do, you can configure each one on the fly to appear as though it's a different object each time you need to use it, and so you can avoid having to instantiate all those various heavy objects and just have one Flyweight object. So now we'll take a look at how this works in code coming up next.